All right, Phil, let's go ahead and wrap up tonight with some college football news. Week 1 action wasn't all that surprising, but the Big Ten did spice it up with their return announcement. The conference said that football wasn't happening, but now it apparently is. They're expected to get underway October 24th. They laid out a 9-game schedule that will include a conference championship game on that 9th weekend, and the schedule will allow the conference to meet the college football playoff deadline of December 20th, but they will have one less game in total than the SEC is playing 10, and the ACC 2 less than the ACC is playing 11. So we do have some questions that still remain, but for now, they are coming back. And we've expected this news since their original cancellation, but what do you think of the plan, Drake?
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. I know you like that. So listen, we said this. It was on a matter of time because listen, here's the deal. When you're a conference and you're part of what they call the cream of the crop, it just wasn't. It just didn't look right. It didn't feel right. It didn't sound right. And this is the spot that I think we all seen this coming to at some point, that they was going to get themselves back into the fold.
Real quick, like all of us have said, hey, get to week 1. Let someone else be on TV. Yeah, next day.
Next day. Listen, it's just, you know, like we've been talking about with the other sports, it's level to this. The Pac-12, really, no one, they haven't said anything. They've been on the milk carton, and then all of a sudden 2 random players come out here and say, no, we want to play. What? You know, like, who is this guy? You know, that's how we looked at it. Like, is this guy serious? And the Big Ten came into the fold. And listen, I don't understand. Okay, so they had these concerns about COVID. Is COVID different? Like, does it, if you cross a certain line in the United States, does the effects change or something? Because the Big Ten is acting like when it gets up there by their states, it just turns into AIDS or something. I don't, like, you just gonna drop, flop down, you're done, and then the rest of your family is just gonna die off in the abyss or something. Like, what are we talking about? It's the same across the board. You have the prime age of people that they can catch COVID 3 times and not even know it. That's what you have. Knock it off. Knock it off with the Dr. Fauci opening statements. Knock it off with these made-up medical stats. And please knock it off with that one dude at that random college that I never heard of that represent 2 states at 2 different times. Let's just knock it off with that death too. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the verdict is still out on that one. That was still a little shaky to your boy. I'm just going to be real. So with all that said, this is where we need to be. I'm glad the Big Ten is coming back, but now the problem is, how do we align the 4 major conferences? And where do conferences like the AAC that's still playing to play, like where do they fall into the mix of all this? Because if it was ever a group of 5 conference that was considered for a playoff, it's one of those teams that come out of that conference. So whether they play in all this, but I'm glad. You know what? A big shout out to those players. First and foremost, I want to give a big shout out to those players because I think, and Jay alluded to this earlier, as soon as we heard the news, maybe about a day or 2, we start hearing Justin Fields. We start hearing other top players out here saying, first of all, we want to play. That's first and foremost, we want to play. Secondly, how you just gonna make some vote and then don't even ask us about it? Like, at the end of the day, we're the employees. We're the talent. We're the ones that they come to watch. You just gonna make this, because y'all amateurs, y'all kids, y'all student athletes. That ain't how y'all treat us. Not when y'all making these millions. Y'all treat us like a product. Y'all treat us like an athlete. Y'all treat us like a brand. So now we're gonna take said brand and make you make a decision. You need to stop BSing and let us play. It worked. Now we in the fold. And I want to hit on this. As we was talking about earlier. Look, so now that we have the 4 major conferences, I heard Paul Feinbaum talking about this. Without a Pac-12, without, significant input from the group of 5s, does this put an asterisk by the college football playoffs? Me personally, I'm saying no. You got the 4 conferences that matter, right? You got Clemson and the rest of the ACC. You got Oklahoma and the rest of the Big 12. You got Alabama and the rest of the SEC, and you got Ohio State and the rest of the Big 10. Now, I know some people might listen to this and be like, hey, that's bull crap, man. There's more teams in the SEC, but whatever. When you show me the other dynasty in the SEC, come holler at your boy. Either way, you have those 4 players and the rest of those conferences. Basically, that's all you need. But like I said, you still got the AAC hanging around. So, you still have a little juice, a little meat on the bones there. So I think the job for the playoff committee now is to try to make it where it's somewhat of an even playing field as far as the week-to-week evaluation. How do you evaluate this? Because if you go off the eye test, I heard somebody say, oh, this is easy, go off the eye test. Well, if you go off the eye test, you're going to mess around and have 3 SEC teams and Ohio State. 2 SEC teams, Ohio State and Clemson, in the top 4 every week. It got to be some way to figure this out. And listen, those 13 committed members get paid whatever they get paid. They smart enough to figure it out. I think they will figure it out. I know you read an interesting stat earlier, Cody, so I'm gonna let you get to that. But listen, I'm happy to see it. I think the fear of COVID is going down rapidly as the time goes past, as we see more and more sports figuring it out. I don't hear the fear of COVID being that high, unless you're in California or Oregon, that is. But for the rest of the United States, we seem to, long as you wearing your mask, hand sanitizer, 6 feet apart, you following the process, it seems to be working. And it seems like it can work in football as well. Because I'm not hearing nobody dying. I'm not hearing people in critical condition at their local hospital. I'm not hearing any of that. All I'm hearing is these helmets smacking and quiet stadiums. Either way, we getting the pigskin throwing, we getting the pads cracking, and you know what it is. Let's roll. So September 26th, the SEC starts, and then October 24th, the Big Ten join the party. And once they join the party, we'll see how they play out. But I'm happy to hear this news. I'm glad it came to the fold, and hey, let's see where this takes us.
Yeah, this is great news. I'm glad they all the pressure and pushback that's been applied from really top to bottom, from the players and parents, all the way up to the big guy himself in the Oval. The man's been on the phone making phone calls and tweeting and all this stuff. I'm gonna leave. I'm not only gonna go start with that. You don't want to get people triggered around here. But listen. Once the Big Ten gets in here, then that was my whole point. Is like, see, I got questions of how. If you just don't have the second best football conference, the Big Ten, if you don't have them in play, then I got questions as to where, like, can we really, really officially put a stamp on a national title when a conference that features Ohio State, who is often in the mix, not saying they win all the time, but they're in the mix. And even like second-tier teams, Michigan, Penn State, Wisconsin, you can go on down the list. But the Big Ten is important to college football. It really is. But long story short, I'm glad they got them in here, and it's just interesting now. I hate to pick on them. Actually, I don't hate to pick on them. I actually love it because it's entertaining. But now you got some 2-3 kids in Southern Cal saying, "Hey, we want to play," and you got people literally looking over like going, "Hey, grown folks talking." That's literally what's going on right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally no one cares. And the AAC, their next thing should be the AAC and Pac-12 should like have a round-robin duel thing for like the right to be in the Power 5. That's where the Pac-12 is right now.
They should call it the Pac-12 AAC challenge. Like in basketball, how the ACC and Big Ten, they get them one of them.
But yeah, this for the sport, it's a great development. And to your point about, what we've seen from other sports, especially, and I'll throw baseball in here real quick. Baseball had some hiccups early on with, some outbreaks with the Marlins, and the Cardinals had one. You're not really hearing that stuff now. So it seems to me that they have kind of gotten more buttoned up with their processes. People are taking it more seriously. We're mitigating properly. So it can be done, and they're traveling. They're constantly traveling. So I think that bodes well. We're seeing the NFL. We saw the NFL, as far as I can tell, have a successful week 1. So, yeah, it's about that time. Let's go ahead and open it up a little more. Maybe stick, instead of having a toe in the water, we stick a full foot in. But this is absolutely a step in the right direction. It's a positive thing, not only for the sports world, but the country in general. This is really good to see.
Yeah, definitely no surprise that they were looking to come back here. And like we said, week 1 didn't take long for them to make that announcement. But, we obviously know the rumblings have been in for a while now. Real quick on the Pac-12, I know it's fun to just crap on them. But there is another factor in play. California and Oregon are incredibly draconian with their COVID rules still. You can't even hold practices. You can't have any kind of gatherings. They'll send the SWAT team out there in your ass. They don't care. Everything's on fire. There's a lot of hurdles, but you're right. The noise the Big Ten Conference made and their players, staff, coaches, parents was nothing like what there's been radio silence out there west of the Sierra Nevadas. So, but just there are other hurdles. Even if they were like, hey, we want to do it now, they wouldn't be able to do it on this timeline. There's no way. A couple of quick things. We'll see how it plays out. I think that one of the things that changed the Big Ten was that the rapid testing came along and they got a hold of it. I guess they decided to spend money and get it. I don't know what it was, but they can test same day now, and that made them feel better. I think it was a convenient out because I think they were going to do this either way, but it kind of gave them see, now we got some better testing. Now everything's different because we remember they said we are not playing this fall, forget about it, and now it's 2 weeks later, we're back to it. But I think that, you are seeing a couple issues. The SEC has had a lot of a couple teams are really having to cancel practices. We had a couple week 1 cancellations. Jay, your guys supposed to be in action. They had to hold off for another week or so. But for the most part, yes, week 1 went off pretty well in college football. That was what you could expect. The NFL, we're not going to know for, until tests roll this week, but it feels like it went off really well. A couple of stadiums had fans. We think more will have them next weekend. But yeah, the college football playoff has a hard job coming up because we're not going to have those early season interconference matchups that have become so popular. We're not going to have those to judge yourself off of. And like Drink said, if we're doing the eye test, well, Ohio State's still going to have Rutgers and some other teams like that to screw around with, or the SEC, you got a tough team every week. So it's going to be hard to pull out these teams and also say, well, Ohio State is 8-0 and this team is 11-0. How can we maybe make a comparison, or, 7-1, 10-1, whatever the case is. That's going to be hard without having played outside your conference. And you're going to have to weigh in, well, the AC still isn't that good, or the Big Ten, whatever. So that's going to be hard. And I think we're going to get a really subjective committee poll, and this could be a really hotly debated year because I think a lot of these teams are going to run the table in their conference, and it could get shaky. But the final thing I'll say is athletes that have opted out might be able to come back. They're talking about the potential. There's some big names that could come back. Defensive back Shaun Wade for Ohio State's a big one. Even if they've maybe already talked to an agent, they might still be able to come back because of how unprecedented this is and how adamant the Big Ten sounded like they were. You can't really fault the kids for moving on with their lives, but then if they want to come back, they can. So we might see some big names come back to the fold, which would be good news, and that would help kind of solidify the championship feel of the season, because if Ohio State's already lost all their good players, it's not really fair, right? So hopefully that happens too. We'll see.